I finally filmed my face routine, or I guess in my eyes, I look at it more as a technique because the products do change up a lot. But as far as the technique is concerned, the things that I'm about to tell you are what I take into consideration whenever I'm placing product on my face. When I choose products, especially liquid products that go directly on my face after my skincare, I take into consideration, number one of all things, the ingredients, especially if it's a liquid. And in my case, I do have sensitive, breakout prone skin, so I tend to steer more towards powder foundations, which I also check the ingredients on as well. But powder products, particularly products that go on the face directly after my skincare, they are less likely to have a tendency to irritate the skin, and they're not as readily absorbed by the skin as a liquid product would be. And because I have that sensitive skin and it is really breakout prone, I like to use a lot of powder products. Now, as far as those products are concerned, I like to make sure that they are the most skin-like looking, with an opaque coverage that doesn't look heavy on the skin. Now, this is just how I do it and my techniques. I am 30 years old, so I take into consideration the aging factors as well. You know, I don't want to draw attention to anything on my face that is potentially going to make me look older. I want to look younger, and considering that you guys tell me that I don't look 30, hopefully I must be, doing something right. But at the same time, at the end of the day, if anything that I say, you don't agree with or anything like that, as long as you like what you see in the mirror as far as your makeup is concerned, that's all that matters, really. Because I do have a lot of people telling me they don't like my eye makeup and this and that and do it differently and stuff like that. But when I do these tutorials and stuff, I do go about the rest of my day with that makeup on, and that's how I like it. That's how I make it work for my face and proportionate it and all of that. So, and one other thing, I feel like it's a real untalked about subject as far as YouTube is concerned. There are a load of things that I see on YouTube that are great for filming, they're great for photography, they're great for Instagram photos, but as far as everyday life, it's not ideal. And I know I've heard so many people who film videos on YouTube say that I'm filming today, so I'm wearing this makeup. I don't put makeup on my face thinking I'm filming today, so I need to put on heavier makeup to be absolutely flawless, because the camera doesn't pick that up. And I think a lot of people don't like to bring attention to that factor, because they use a lot heavier products on their face that will make them appear absolutely flawless to the camera, both taking pictures and filming. But in real life, it's not that attractive. So, that might have, I don't know, I don't mean to push buttons or anything like that, but I do feel like people don't say that a lot. So, the way that I put my makeup on isn't, I feel like it doesn't fall in there with the norms of how everybody likes to put on makeup on their face. But for me, if you were standing right in front of me looking at my face, you're not going to be able to see makeup. It's not going to look heavy or thick or anything like that. And that's what I want out of my makeup, because I go about my entire day with this makeup on. It's how I do it every day. So with all that being said, hopefully I touched on all the right points. It probably took me so long to film this video because I have a load of information in my head, and I was trying to organize that information in such a way to deliver it to you guys in a way that made sense. I don't know if I accomplished that or not. I suppose I'll find out after I upload this video. But in any event, I hope that you guys were able to pull something from it and it was helpful in some other way. Again, it's just how I do it, so it works for me. So I'm pretty fresh out of the shower. Very fresh out of the shower. My face is pretty dewy and stuff like that, because I got all my skincare on there and also an SPF of 50 on. So that's why you're going to see some sheen and stuff like that. I always have my hair back when I do my foundation, because who wants that in your face? And I usually put, I know this is so attractive, I usually put a headband on too, because I do have a little bit of like a fringe going on to keep that out of my face when I'm doing my face makeup. Actually, all my makeup usually, but. So for concealer today, I'm going to go ahead with the Bare Minerals Correcting Concealer, SPF 20 in Light 1. This concealer is a little bit heavier than what I normally like to use, but it is an SPF of 20, and I want that sun protection underneath my eyes, and it does have a fairly nice finish for as good as it covers. It's still pretty light underneath the skin. It's kind of like, it reminds me of the MAC Studio finish and Bobbi Brown creamy concealer, but it's not as heavy as those. It's lighter, but it still does a good job of covering. But I like that SPF 20, and it is not quite light enough for my liking, but with the setting powder it'll all work out in the end. So I'm just gonna like tell you guys, when I pick a concealer, what I like to do is I try to match the concealer to the color that's underneath my eyes. You can see that probably the lightest skin on my entire face is this skin right here, and I try to match the concealer to the color of that skin, which is pretty light, and I do that because I don't carry concealer all the way to the lash line, and I don't do that because I have these little rolls right here, and I've had them since I was like, what, 10? I actually started using my mom's eye cream, this is no joke, when I was that young, because I thought if I started using it, that it would make those like little rolls go away. Anyway, I guess it's beneficial in the long run, because I've been using eye cream for a long time, which is good. But I had read in a magazine, some Glamour or some magazine, that it was a new thing in Asia. If you know anything about this, sure, feel free to let me know. But I did read this, that having these little rolls, these little whatever underneath your eyes, was actually considered youthful, and it was the next biggest thing over there. Or for everybody, I guess, was to have these little rolls. So I guess I shouldn't complain about them. But in any event, there's a line right here and right here that I've had since I was very young, and I just don't like to put product there, because no matter what, it will accentuate that. And there's a little bit of fine lines, nothing major, because I am 30. And the more product that you put on that area, the older you're gonna look, no matter what. And granted, this is me putting on makeup for not for filming purposes and not for picture purposes, but this is how I do it every day. And I actually do my makeup like this every day, whether I'm filming or not. I don't like switch it up because, oh, I'm filming today. That's how I do it every day. So with that being said, I don't carry concealer up there, and I'll show you how I put this on here. This is a Sephora Pro Airbrush Concealer. One of my favorites. The e.l.f. HD concealer brush is really awesome dupe for this brush, and I have quite a few of those as well. But I'm just going to pick up some of this concealer here, and where I like to put it is, I like to take the concealer and I like to put it right here, right where I put that brush, and kind of bring it outwards. And I'll show it, hopefully you guys can be able to see this here, but so I put it right in there. This part of my face, this inner corner for me, because there's such an indentation there next to my nose, is a really important part of how my overall face comes together in the end. So I'm going to put that right there. Pick up a little more, and then I'm going to pat this all along here like this, and just keep that concealer right there. And then I'm also going to take it up this inner part right here and just blend that. So then I take the brush, and I don't pick up any more product, but I'll take this brush here and I will pat it on this area right here, back and forth, until it is opaque in that hollow part of my eye. That's where I want the majority, the opaqueness of the concealer to be, is right there. So I'll pat it back and forth like this here. And there's actually, I think there's a mosquito bite right there, because I was on the deck last night. We were under tornado warning. There was a tornado that wiped out some trailer houses like 80 miles away, and we were in the path. Long story, anyway, I was on the deck, and there was mosquitoes everywhere. And it doesn't feel like a creep or a blemish. I think it's a mosquito bite, so I'm just going to put a little bit on there. But so I pat this over so that it's opaque right there. And I don't carry it up to the lash line. Then I wipe off this brush. I have a towel like right here stuffed in my pants. I brush off the brush so that there's no more product on there. And then what I do is I feather out the edges of the concealer like this, because I want the concealer to perform the best that it can perform with the least amount of products, especially underneath the eye. And I don't like to bring concealer either right here, because there's a lot of movement there, and there's some little tiny lines from when, you know, you move your eye there, and if there's a little bit, I like to wipe it off. And then I'll feather out, wipe my brush off again, and then I'll feather out the top edge of that concealer without bringing it all the way up to the lash line. So I keep this part here fairly clean, and I will take over my setting powder, which you'll see in a minute, with that, and it will, the setting powder is so thin, and it's also got a brightening factor to it, that it will marry all of that together. So the opaqueness of the concealer is right in that darkness right there, and I feather it upwards into my natural skin, both higher and lower. And if you were to take that concealer all the way up to the lash line, especially in my case with those under eye wrinkles or the little rolls or whatever, what that's going to do is going to highlight that this little bag or little roll part of the eye, and it's going to, you're going to put the same amount of product for the dark circle as you got to the lash line, and then your dark circle is not going to be any brighter than those parts of your face, because this part's going to be brighter than the dark circle now because you put concealer there. I hope that made sense. So the way that I apply it, it's going to cover the dark circles without putting on a load of product. I hope that made sense. I was going back and forth. This is probably why it took me so long to film this video, is because I feel like I have so much information in my head to relay to you guys, and I don't want to forget anything, and I want to make sense. So hopefully I'm making sense. So anyway, there's the concealer done. So I went ahead and put concealer on my other eye, and then oftentimes I do like to carry whatever concealer that I use across the bridge of my nose right here, because I like that area to appear wider, both to look a little bit even with the bottom of my nose, but doing that it'll take away attention and make that area, it'll draw away from the darkness of this right here. And I know you're going to have a hard time seeing that on camera because we're not in 3D, but there's a pretty, see, I can stick my brush kind of far in there. So that's where, like, if I'm tired or it's been a long day or something like that, that's where, like, my eyes start to sink into the back of my head. Like, instead of getting massive darkness down here, which I can too get, you know, dark circles down there, they like sink right there. So I bring that across the bridge of my nose there, because it does help to pull that into one and take away from those indentations next to my nose. So hopefully that made sense. So I do have concealer on underneath both eyes right now. And I'm just going to, since I've been talking, I haven't been able to do my next step right away, but I make sure that that concealer is not creased both on top, which normally that's where it is because there isn't much of creasing here because I don't take it all the way to underneath the lash line, but I'll take and make sure that it hasn't creased right there yet, because I do have, you know, quite a bit of moisturization and stuff on my face for my skincare. So make sure that's not creased, and then I go right in with my under eye setting powder. So for setting powder underneath the eyes, there's pretty much only 3 products I ever like to use. I have tried the Hourglass ambient lighting. Those are okay, but they can, on top of concealer, they can get a little heavy. That's just my opinion, of course, but I'll show you another one that is kind of a holy grail for me, is the e.l.f. high definition under eye setting powder. On sale, $1.50, can't beat it. And then I do like the e.l.f. tone correcting powder in cool underneath the eyes too. Super thin powder. It's really good for setting under eye concealer. But with my really dry skin, since I do, you know, I take that powder all the way out to here, it'll mattify that area so a little bit too much, even though it looks nice. And then when I go in with my highlighter won't stick to it, so there will be kind of a, in my opinion, an obvious stop and end to my highlighter because I can't get it to stick to that powder. Although I do like that powder for that. If I got probably July, I'll probably be able to use that one. But today, and this is kind of a holy grail product for me, I'm going to set the concealer with my Kojendo My Fanshi UV Face Powder SPF 20+++. Again, using my SPF 20 products because as soon as I'm done with all this, I'm headed out the door, and I always like to have the SPF coverage on my face. So my favorite brush to set the concealer with is a Cozzette S165. The Real Techniques highlighter, the little fine one, that's a nice one as well. There's a few that are nice. Mostly I like to use a soft synthetic, but this is my absolute favorite. Again, it's the Cozzette S165 brush. And along with the products that I just mentioned, this product as well will put a brightening effect underneath the eyes with a super, super, super thin texture. Like, you could be right in front of me looking at me, and it's going to be pretty hard to detect makeup. And for underneath the eye area, that's saying something. So, and that's how I like to keep it. I like to keep my face makeup looking quite undetectable, which, anyway, on with the show. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick up what is in the lid here of this powder, and I'll pick it up on that Cozzette brush here. And then I start with where it would crease the fastest, because I just blended it out there. So I'll put it right, I'll just pat it in right there, and then I'll pat it in right here, and then I'll go ahead and I will set the entire under eye area with this powder. And I'll take that up to the lash line, which will marry that entire area together, so that because that skin underneath my eyes is really, really light underneath my eyelash line, so it's kind of hard to find a concealer that's that light, and this powder helps with that. And then too, what I also really love about this powder, all of these powders, is they don't turn into a deeper color. I've had like white powders, the Laura Mercier, certain ones, when they hit an emollient surface, they deepen up or turn ashy, or they take your concealer to a deeper level than what it looks like without the setting powder. And you know, if you want your concealer to last all day, which that's what I like, you want to set it. So this powder doesn't do it. It actually takes it up just a level into a brighter area, and I just love it. Plus the SPF 20 is amazing. So I do set it kind of out to here like this. And that's the under eye area. So you can kind of see what a difference that's made in my overall face and the brightening of that area on my face, just doing that to my eyes, because I do have that real indentation next to the eye and the nose right there. So just an automatic brightness in my face. And the thing of it is, again, I can't reiterate it enough, very little product, very thin products, and you can hardly detect it. If we were physically visiting each other face to face, it would be hard to see, which that's what I want out of makeup, you know. So my face is still pretty dewy because we are going to be using a mineral foundation today, and I'm glad it's staying pretty dewy, and I think it is because of these lights here, because normally I wouldn't wait this long to put on a powder foundation because I like my face to be tacky, but I'm pretty sure that these lights are helping out with keeping it fairly tacky at the moment. So I do have a pretty heavy SPF 50 on my face already, and we have the extra added SPF underneath the eyes. So I'm going to go ahead in with my Bare Minerals matte foundation. It's also SPF 15. So the shade that I'm going to start out with is in the shade Fair, and again, this is the matte version. It is a cool undertone as far as the shade range is concerned, and I'm going to use it on the Marc Jacobs The Face One brush, which is one of my favorite brushes to put on powder. I like to stick with a synthetic brush to put on both liquid foundations and powder foundations, because I tend to wash them a lot, and as much as I like to wash them because it's putting on my base makeup, it would take a toll on a real hairbrush. So I like to keep it with synthetics. And then too, you're doing it all over the face, and these are really soft. So again, the Real Techniques multitask is amazing for this as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and do a couple taps of this into the lid here, and then pick it up on my brush. And usually, again, like I said, my face is pretty tacky, and since I have dry skin, I like to have it a little tacky when I go in with this. And this is the Fair shade, so this is how I apply it. I just go ahead and lightly go like this in the center of my face, like this, and pick up a little more, and I go right alongside my nose and on top there, and then I go right, and I don't go over where I put concealer, but I go right underneath it, right here, because we don't need product there anymore. And this is the Fair shade, and it is still too dark for my light skin, but I mean, I don't really care to be that light, especially in the summer. So, and then I also take that same light shade above the lip and around my mouth right here. Sometimes I'll take it above the brow, but for the most part, that is where I like to pat on the Fair shade of Bare Minerals. And again, like I said, I keep it right underneath that eye area right there. Because, I mean, it's like multitasking your products, you know, your concealers and stuff like that. Instead of going in with all these other products to get a highlight and contour, I like to make the products that I'm putting on directly work. Because, again, I like, you know, like my products to be thin and get the most out of them, I guess. But anyway, so that's where I put the fair, and you can kind of see, well, from the viewfinder, I can kind of see that, you know, compared to my real skin tone, it is a little bit deeper. And this is the fair shade, but anyway, it'll all come together in the end, I promise. And so I take the fairly medium shade, and I'm going to buff this over the rest of the face where I didn't put the fair shade, and blend it into that fair shade so that it all marries together. And again, I just tap a bit into the lid there, pick it up on my brush, and I tap it over, because that, again, that area is tacky a little bit. So I tap it onto that area there, and once I get the powder over the entire area, then I can buff it in a little bit more. And then I marry it all together there, and with that fair shade, a little more in there, and then do my forehead. In the forehead, I don't really have too many problems with streaks, so sometimes I just buff that on. It kind of all depends on what kind of skincare that I put on, how, you know, whether I'm tapping or buffing more. But if you do have problem too with mineral foundations sticking to your skin, you need more lotion. You need to hydrate your skin more, or either use a primer that has a tack to it, so that it'll stick. Because if your skin is really dry, and you want to use a powder foundation, you really have to moisturize your skin up, which is what I have to do. And that's another reason why I go directly into my foundation. I don't let too much time lapse between when I put my skincare on and when I start to put my foundation on. So just buff this in over here. Take a little on my ear there. And then for my neck, I do something a little bit different for my neck, which I'll show you guys. So the face is really nothing too exciting. Like, that's all I do. So I like to highlight first, because when I put my blush on, it's going to help blend out that top edge. Because I like everything to be very, as far as edges are concerned, I like everything to be very diffused. So putting that highlighter on first is going to help with how I like to do that. So I'm just going to go in with my tried and true and my one true love here. It's the Burberry Fresh Glow Nude Radiance in number 1, and this is a Chikuhodo highlighting brush. I'm just going to pick up some product on here like this, and this is how I like to put on my highlight. I kind of place it right at the corner of the eye here and blend it back and forth like this. And that's kind of it. And then I like to pick up just a little bit more up on the tip there and put it in on the middle right here of my eyes, because that's going to help, again, give the illusion of this area being one in color, to take away from that depth by my eyes. And it's going to kind of widen that bridge of my nose so that it doesn't look like I have such sinkholes. Hopefully I'm making sense again. Pick up a little bit more. I put it right across the top of my lip here, just a touch above the brow. Then I like to take a touch right up on the center of my chin here as well. And one thing I did forget to mention about highlighter is when I pick a highlighter, I do have fair skin, but I see this in a lot of people's videos. Just because a product is sheeny on the skin, I don't consider that a highlight myself. For me, I like a powder to, if this looks like light, when I put it on my skin, I want that opacity to be there to keep my actual skin a light color, not just a glow or a sheen to the skin, but I want it to look light right here. And a lot of highlighters, you put them on and they have a nice beautiful sheen to them on the skin and stuff, but when you're not in direct light, when you have that highlighter out of the light, the undertone or the actual tone of that highlighter is darker than what you want in that area of your face, and it will actually make that area of your face actually look depressed, like inwards, instead of giving it that highlight effect. I hope that I make sense. Now I'm going to kind of do a 2-in-1 contour highlight with an all-time favorite. This is Benefit Dallas, and I do love the Tom Ford bronzer brush as well, but just for the sake of the video and a little bit more contoury type stuff, I'm going to go in with the Goss number 13 brush, and I'm just going to pick up this here on the brush, and I like to start out right in the back of the hollows, right here with it. I buff it and I buff it, and then I pull it forward right here onto my cheek. Pick up a little bit more to deepen that up a bit, and then just bronze up that cheek. So we have highlight here, we have our bronze contour type thing down here, and then there's a space right in between those two where I like to put my blush. But let me finish up this face. I like to take the same thing here and put it right here on my forehead. I'll carry it underneath my jaw a bit as well, do a little on my ear there. And I don't contour my nose too much because I do kind of the reverse contouring thing with the bridge in the middle, and also my nose is really broke here, and I don't want to put a whole ton of contouring stuff to make my nose look slimmer right there, because it's just not ideal for me every day. And also sometimes, depending on how you hit the light or how you do it, it can actually emphasize a broken nose. So I'm just better off leaving it, to be honest. And then, like I said, that reverse contouring will help with the overall look of my nose. So again, like I told you guys before, I do like to carry a little bit of that bronzer right in these parts of the neck. It might look kind of crazy at first, but it'll all come together in the end. So I do essentially half the time hurriedly just place it on where I want it. See, like, it's not blended or anything like that. That's because I like to go back in with the brush that I put on powder foundation, and there's probably a little bit of powder foundation in there, which helps with this process. But the way that I put it on, I see it's a little bit too heavy for me right here, and I also like to, you know, do a little bit more precision right here and blend out my neck and my forehead. So I'll take that brush and blend that out right here, blend out the jawline, and I'll take it right on this area right here and blend that out, and then I'll blend out the forehead like that, so it's blended. I know a lot of people really like to do that sharp contouring right here, and if you don't have really sculpted cheekbones already, and you're not filming or taking photographs in real life, that's going to be a really blunt, obvious line. So again, I do put on this makeup for every day, for people looking at my face in flesh. So there's the highlight and the bronzing / contour deal. I'm going to show you a little bit more of what I like to do for a contour in a minute, but this is the Sonia Kashuk Flamingo blush here, and just on a gloss number 12 here, I'm going to pick up this blush here, and I'm going to place it again here. Our highlight kind of comes down to here, our bronzer kind of meets there. I'm going to place it right in between those two right here, and just bring it kind of forward just a bit onto the apple, not too much. You don't want to bring your blush too far inwards, so I try to keep it kind of right there. And that is essentially enough blush. Now, the thing with the blush, which I hope this helps people out if they're having this problem. If you do have this indentation here, or your skin is breaking down underneath the eye to where you get an indentation right here, you know, the older we get, we lose most of our collagen and elastin right there in the eye first, which is like totally unfortunate. Anyway, there will be a line kind of right here. I like to keep my blush just below that. So if I were to have that depression there, which really I don't have too much of one just yet, SPF, man. So I'm gonna, you know, draw where that line would be over here. So right here would be where that line would break down, and there would be an indentation from, you know, aging and losing that elastin and collagen in the skin. I like to keep my blush just below that line, and I see this so much. You know, you do want to put your blush high, but you don't want to put it too high if you have that indentation, because a blush is deeper on the face, and if you take that blush right up to here, right along that line, it's going to accentuate it. It's going to, you know, here's your line, and oh, there's a deeper blush. It's just going to follow that, and it's going to make it look deeper. So I like to keep the blush just below that. You don't want to bring your blush too far down because it's going to drag your face down, but you want to keep it below that line. And hopefully I make sense. Again, this is how I do it. This is how, like I said, I am 30, and I thank you guys for telling me that no way am I that age or whatever, but I do put on makeup with that in mind, with the anti-aging in mind, making my products work the most and placing them in such a way so that you don't draw attention to areas that you just worked so hard to brighten up or make look less visible, you know. So If it's a little bit stronger than I like on that top edge, even though I didn't bring it up to like that line like I told you, because I like to keep it just below that, I do like to go in with my highlighter brush, and a lot of the times I don't pick up any more product, but I do like to go back in and buff this edge out right there so that there is absolutely nothing visible in this area right here, so that it looks like that. Hopefully you guys can see that, but so essentially there's my bronzer, contour, blush, and highlighting routine. I don't feel like it's that special. I feel like there's more things to be gained by the placement of product and how it's put on the face than anything. So hopefully that part was helpful. And to do an additional contouring type thing, if you really want to sharpen up your face more with, like I said, I don't like to take it to that extreme level of photography and filming extreme. I like to keep it real life, you know. So my favorite is the Chanel Notorious, but this is like long discontinued, so I'm going to go in with one that is a little bit more readily available, and that is the Kwan Sculpting Powder in medium. I'm going to go ahead and use this one because you can still buy it, and this is a Chikuhodo contour brush. You can use any kind of precise brush that you want. You could even use like a pointed brush like this, or Real Techniques does some pointy ones, but just be sure to get the product on the very tip of the brush. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this one, and I'm going to just barely tap it in the product, flick it off of there, and I'm going to go right into this contour part of my face right there, and just little tiny buffer motions like this is where I put it. And I will only bring that contour right there just enough forward till it meets the end of the brow. So I won't ever bring that line further forward than the very tail end of my brow downwards like that. So just right there. And then for a little bit more, if you really want to go the extra mile, you can pick up a little bit more and put it in that depression right here in your, you know, your forehead. And for me, the little bit of sagginess, or not sagginess, the little bit of extra skin, I guess we'll call it, for me is kind of right here. So again, if you want to go the extra, I just put a little bit right here and do the little bit of buffing like this. And I don't contour my nose. It's broken. It's far too much makeup steps time to go the extra mile to do that than doing the reverse contouring through the bridge of my nose. So that is how I would go the extra mile to do some extra contouring on my face. So once that is done, if you do feel like it's too much, in my case it's fine, because I'm gonna do one more extra step that is also optional, but you can also just go back in with your foundation brush and just buff that just a hair, just to make sure that it's really buffed into the skin. And one of the very last things that I like to do to finish off my entire face is use a finishing powder. Hourglass ambient lighting powders are some of my favorite. This one here I have is diffused light. This will be the one that I'm going to use, but I also absolutely love the Guerlain Meteorite Pearls. For it, again, they're really thin products, finely milled products that are really hard to detect on the skin. So that's kind of how I like to keep it with everything that I put on my face. I don't want to see it. So we're just going to go ahead with this diffused light, and it's gonna really marry the whole entire face together, in my opinion. Again, you could leave it because it is still very blended into the skin. Hopefully the lights will portray that. Hard telling, we'll see when I edit. But I do like to use the finishing powders. For one, I have this great brush here that's super soft and it's almost like massaging the face, I guess. But for two, I just think that these products look really pretty on the skin. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick up the diffused light ambient powder here. And this is a Chikuhodo powder brush. And I'm just going to pick this up here and just buff it all over the skin, which will help just put the contouring, the bronzer, everything into one. And this powder is so fine that you can, you know, especially on this fluffy light brush, it's just going to airily put it like air all over the face. So I just go like that and blend it all in. So that is all for my entire face, and hopefully you guys can see. Yeah, I'm so close to the lens here that my nose is looking crazy. I'm looking distorted. But anyway, hopefully you guys can see that. Like, you can't really, like, even when I'm looking in the mirror, you can't detect product, you know. it looks like skin. Like, I get compliments on my skin all the time. Granted, I have a strict skin regimen that will be coming your way soon. But they don't just look at my face and see makeup. Oh, that's why she has nice skin. You know, I have the makeup on my face to make it look like skin. I hope I make sense. So I always worry about that. Anyway, there's one more step to finish off everything that's visible up here. So now this step, it probably isn't going to be for everybody, but it just works well for my skin tone. So I did bring that bronzer down these parts of the neck. And I like to go in with the Wet n Wild Reserve Your Cabana here on usually just a great big powder brush. The Real Technique synthetic, because I'm really rough with the way I just kind of slap and buff it on. I'm really rough with these brushes and they just hold up, so that's what I like to use. So I just pick up the powder, and it's got SPF 15 again, and it kind of sets the sunscreen that I already put on so that it doesn't move throughout the day, because like I'm outside working and stuff. I don't want to burn, man, and I don't the way that I do the makeup. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and dust this on my face and blend out that jaw real good, and blend out that part right here where we put that I'm hitting my esophagus and it sounds funny. Anyway, where we put that, bring it back here and just blend this all together, and you'll see that this tone is perfect for me to put on my neck, because it just, like, hopefully you guys can see, it just marries the whole everything visible together so that it looks all the same tone. You know, I'll even pick up my shirt right here and put it on my, you know, your décolleté or whatever. So, and just really buff it in with this big brush here. I'm sweating up a storm, man. It's hot outside, and these lights, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Anyway, that's all for the face stuff. Everything. Hopefully it's coming together, you know, good on the camera and you guys can see well, and hopefully I made sense and it was helpful. Hopefully I remembered everything. If not, be sure to check the description box, because when I edit, sometimes some things pop into my mind and I like to put it in the description box down below to help you guys out. You know, this is the point where I'd put on some lip balm as well on my, you know, there's a little bit of powder foundation on there, but I'd put some lip balm on so that it's sitting there the entire time that I'm doing my eye makeup, you know, brows, eyeshadow, lashes, all that stuff. So by the time I get to my lips, they're pretty nice and hydrated. So anyway, there you have it. I know you guys have been requesting it a lot. Again, it's nothing, you know, the products and the amount of steps and stuff like that isn't not anything that particularly special, as it is opposed to how it's applied and where it's placed on the skin. So again, I do it with anti-aging and also me being older, all that stuff in mind. So I hope that you guys found this video helpful. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to wear sunscreen, and I will see you guys later.